Hey everybody, Randy Patterson here with Boomerocity. As you already know, if you've listened very much at all to Boomerocity, you already know that we're big blues fans here. And if you've listened to us over the last couple of years, you know that we absolutely love Albert Castiglia. He's a great blues guitarist. He plays with all sorts of different people and is an amazing solo artist on his own. And so when I got wind that his new album was going to be coming out in July of 2024, I knew I just had to talk to the man. And so he's got this new album coming out, as you can see behind me, called Righteous Souls. And you're absolutely going to love this album if you love the blues. And who doesn't love the blues? In this particular album, though, Albert really knocks it out of the park because he's got a bunch of his friends on there. Who, you may ask? All right, I'll tell you. I'll tell you three: Joe Bonamassa, Papa Chubby, Ali Venerable. And there's a bunch more. Those right there should be more than enough to make you want to buy this album. And I do ask you to buy it because that's how these artists make a living, that and touring, wearing themselves out touring. But please support the artists and buy the album, buy the disc, pay to download it, whatever the case may be. And if you don't mind, after you've heard this interview, please hit like wherever you're watching or listening to this on. Hit subscribe too. That helps us out. And neither one costs you anything. And then if you also don't mind, please share it with your friends and ask them to do the same thing. Ask them to like and subscribe. It won't cost you guys a thing, and it helps us out a lot. So without any further ado, here's the latest interview with our good friend, Albert Castiglia. Until next time, this is Randy Patterson with Boomerocity. Take care. There you are.
How are you, Randy?
I'm doing great. How are you, my friend?
Good, really good.
You've been doing a lot of traveling. What all you got going on right now?
Well, I'm going to Switzerland in the morning. Play with Zito. Got a super group project going on over there. Blues Giants.
Oh,
Me, Sugar Ray Rayford, and Zito, and the great Jerry Jamot on bass, and Jimmy Bott on drums. So yeah, so that's what we got going on this week.
very
And
good.
then in July, I go out on the road with my band.
All right. Yeah, I wish you were going to be coming a little closer this way, but I think the closest you get is City Winery over in Nashville, but that's a great
Well,
venue there.
yeah, we'll be there in July. Yep.
Well, good deal. Good deal. Well, hey, this new album, wow, man, what a gangbuster you put out there,
Glad
man.
you got it. I don't have it yet.
Well, I actually had to twist Mark's arm and get a little stream of it so I could at least know what you had going on there. And I know, I think about another week or so I'll have a physical copy, but
Oh,
I
that's awesome.
wanted to get a sneak listen to it all. And man, I had no idea you had a ton of other people there helping you. Tell me
Well,
about
yeah,
this thing.
that was the idea of the album. Uh, when Mike told me it was time to make a record, we were in the middle of a tour, and I had been touring with the Blood Brothers for 2 years,
Hmm.
and I really didn't have a lot of time to write songs. I had about 4 written, but I didn't have a lot of original material, and I didn't know what concept we were going to take with the album. I mean, usually my albums have to come from someplace, and there's usually got to
Right.
be a theme or a concept to it. And I didn't know what that concept was because I didn't have any time to plan.
Right.
And Mike said, "Well, why don't we just get your friends on it? Why don't we just invite a bunch of people to play on it?"
Hmm.
And I said, "Okay, well, let's see who'll do it." And we called. I think Joe Bonamassa might have been the first we reached out to,
Hmm.
and he was it right in right away. He was one of the first people to play on it. When the others came, it was great. That my friends were able to make time for me. Danielle Nicole, Kevin Bird, Josh Smith, Kingfish,
Hmm.
uh, Gary Hoey, Papa Chubby, Ali Venable. my daughter even played on the track.
I
So
saw that.
sang on the track, sang on the track with Kingfish.
Wow.
So yeah, that wound up being the concept, is friends and family on the record. And a lot of those friends I consider family. So
Yep. Well, what I thought was cool too, just to add another layer to that, perception-wise as a fan, is, a lot of times labels just get a little protective of, it can only be a label mate or something, and
yeah.
you 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 pulled in from other areas, and that I mean, Bonamassa got his own thing, others got a and it's not
Yeah, that
all
was
just on Gulf Coast, so that I thought that speaks volumes. That's very cool.
yeah, it sure does. I mean, well, there were yeah, it's kind of I don't I w maybe it's kind of ironic because some of my best friends that I wanted on the record couldn't make it because of that,
Mm,
because of contractual agreements with other labels and the protectiveness on their end. We couldn't Some of my friends couldn't play on it, which I found kind of yet Joe Bonamassa, like we keep going back to Joe. Joe, with all of his obligations and as big of a plateau as he's at, such a high plateau that he's at, was able to make the time to do it. And I have no issues with my friends that couldn't do it. I mean, it's a business.
yeah,
Unfortunately, it's the part of the business that I despise. Um, but I still got a good amount of my friends were able to do it,
good.
and I know the ones that weren't able to. I know they would have done it for me if they could.
Yep.
So it's a very special record. The I mean, you spend a lot of time being on the road and sometimes you take a beating self-esteem wise from it. You sometimes you don't feel the love from the business and stuff, and then you make a record like this, and all your friends come out and step up and play on it. It's just it's wonderful. It was a wonderful project to be a to make.
Well, I think it's a testament too to Zito. He's a Gulf Coast is an artist label, man. I mean, that just
Yeah,
it's all about the music. Yeah, you gotta have smart business in there, but when I saw that he was launching that a few years back, I thought, "Man, this dude gets it." I if any label's gonna stand on its own quite well, Gulf Coast will, and I think he's
well,
on
yeah.
the right
I
stuff,
mean,
you know?
he learned a lot over the years from the business. I mean, he's uh he's had triumphs and he's been screwed over by labels. So he learned what to do and what not to do in terms of running a label.
Yep,
He's been through it all. So and luckily he didn't he didn't carry on the bad habits of the of he didn't bring in the negative experiences. He didn't he broke the chain, so to speak,
yep,
of what labels can tend to do. And he like you said, he caters more to the artist, and the artists have more creative freedom, and his contracts are incredibly fair. Um, so he's kind of broken the chain of what the norm is in terms of how to handle artists
yep.
from a label perspective. Yeah.
So what was different about putting this album together compared to the others? I mean, we talked about all the friends and such, but and not a you're covering some pretty deep tracks on the album. What else has been different for you in getting this one?
Well, ever since I've been with Gulf Coast, there's been a theme to my albums. The you know, um, for instance, Masterpiece. I mean, in Masterpiece's case, it was my daughter and my grandchildren who were the muses on that record. It was all based around my daughter finding me and changing my life.
Mhm.
And then we put out the live album, which was great. Then we came out with I Got Love, which which centered around the the year of the lockdown
Mhm.
and my being able to survive and live through it. And all that material was inspired by that year, that by that year and a half of trying to survive. And those songs came from that. And so like I said, it was I didn't know what to write about on the next album because it all centered around being on the road with Mike and touring. And there wasn't a heck of a lot. I didn't really, other than the touring experience, I didn't really have much of a life, and I really didn't have much to write about. I had a few things to write about, but I didn't have a lot of original material. And then Mike came up with the idea to uh, to bring friends in and make it that kind of a record. So
Mm.
it's very different in terms of how we approached it. I mean, there's no real message to. I mean, there are certain messages behind some of the songs. Um, for instance, "Mama, I Love You," the song with Kevin Burt was came from me watching someone die on TV needlessly,
Mhm.
the hands of another because of the absurd concept of racism and how we're so afraid of each other that people are just willing to kill someone else because of the color of their skin.
Mhm.
I mean, that was something I had wrote uh, that I written. I guess that was before the Blood Brothers even took shape, but it was a little too harsh of a song to put on the Blood Brothers album. It wasn't the way to go in it, but it was a song that I wanted on there. So there were, and then there was Centerline,
Mhm.
which is the single that's out now, and that was inspired by my taking up of martial arts. Um, After being on the road with Mike for a year, I was kind of burned out from the road, and I needed something to recharge my battery, so I took up boxing, and I got into Wing Chun Kung Fu, which is a Southern Chinese discipline of kung fu that was brought to the West by Bruce Lee,
Mhm. Mhm.
and it made its way to the States, and there was a class. Um, there was a class that was open near where I lived, and I took it, and it turned out to be a great thing for me, not just physically, which I needed, but mentally, because I was exhausted from the road. I'd been doing a year and a half with the Blood Brothers, and that's all we did was tour, and I needed to do something different. And then in doing that, I I became more centered, and I I achieved it. I've gotten more of a balance in my life because of it, and it inspired that song. And
Mhm.
and and it was great to have Papa Chubby on there to play on the song because he's a Tai Chi, practitioner,
Well, I didn't know that.
and
Oh.
yes, he is, and they're very similar. What I was taking up and what he's doing were very similar, and at times when we were on the road, we find ourselves hand sparring, and, so it was a no-brainer to get him on the record, and so, the 4 songs that I wrote mean something, but they're very different themes. And I made the most of those 4 originals that were on there, but the rest of the material were by people that I loved and respected and whose songs I wanted to share with the world. So I think that's what makes it different from the other records. It's
How's
it's just it's a labor of love.
Mhm.
It's me sharing my music that I grew up listening to, in addition to my originals, a few of my originals, and sharing them with my friends by playing with them. It's a very
Speaking
different concept from the rest of them.
speaking of Papa, I hear he's been going through a rough patch. Have you heard anything new on him? Is he improving any at all?
He's you know, he's getting older and he's going through some, what the heck is he going through? He's had a spinal stenosis,
Mhm.
which is very serious, and he needs to get surgery for it and get some therapy. So he's going to be out of commission for a few months.
Mm.
But he's doing a record in the midst of it,
Wow.
and I'm going to be he. I called him because I'm playing on his record and asked him if the project was going to be put on hold. Did he want me to wait? And he said no. Go and proceed putting your guitar parts on these songs I sent you. And excuse me. So he's still carrying on, but he's in a lot of pain right now. So yeah, my thoughts and prayers are with him, and I hope everybody follows suit and does the same for him.
Definitely,
He's a
definitely.
great guy. I love him
Yeah,
very much, and he's you just hate to see your friends going, but I mean it comes with getting older,
yeah.
and that's why the road can be very whether the pitfalls of the road are very tough. You know, you if you're not a strong person, you find yourself doing a lot of drinking out there and
Mhm.
a lot of partying, and then even when you stop partying, the rigors of the road can still hurt you. So you got to really take good care of yourself when you're out there. That's kind of why I started taking better care of myself after COVID.
Yeah,
Um, I kind of had to tweak some things and cut down on the drinking and do a little bit more physical activity, and it's been helping me deal with the road.
yeah.
Man, but he put a lot of years in,
He sure has. He
a
sure is. Great guy,
and
though.
it yeah, huh?
I say he's a great guy, though. I interviewed him once. I
Terrific,
think it was last year that I interviewed him, and such a gracious guy. I
wonderful
told
human being.
yeah.
I first met him when I was a sideman with Sandra Hall,
Mm,
and we opened up for him in Boston somewhere, and he offered his amp up to me. I was going to bring my amp up on stage, and he goes, "Hey, well, why don't you just use my amp?" And I was in my 20s and in awe of him, and the fact that he offered me his amp was meant the world to me.
mhm.
And yeah, we've been friends ever since.
Well, I didn't write this down, but you were talking about the road and how hard it is. I wanna brag on you. Last year, not long after I interviewed you last year,
Mhm,
it was about a year ago, and, caught you at the Knoxville show at the Bijou. You and Gary were there together and
mhm, mhm.
did a long meet and greet after the show, and, I mean, the line was long and people wanted to talk and all that, and I wanna brag on how gracious you were to everybody, everybody, and it was, I know that's hard to do sometimes, especially when all you wanna do is just get back to your room or on the bus and sleep or rest or work out or something. And I just thought it was very classy how you and Gary as well. You and Gary both just were so gracious to everybody, and that's a testament to your character. And I appreciate it as a fan. You know, you and I
But it's
spoke
one of
briefly, and
thank you. Well, it's one of the great parts of what we do. You know, uh, I get my rest. I get plenty of rest. Well, I try to get plenty of rest before the show, and I know that people want to talk after the show, and I get mentally prepared for it, and it's really it's one of the things I like about what we do. You know, I like it's our way of interacting with people, and not strictly just from playing from the stage, but getting to meet people and to know their stories and it's part of what we do, and I enjoy it. I enjoy meeting people after the show. It's not when I was with Junior Wells, I that it I think I learned a lot from Junior in that sense, and that there was more to playing than just playing. We did. I remember the third show I ever did with Junior. We packed the theater in Detroit. And it was about 500, 600 seater, and everybody wanted to meet with him. And we 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 didn't leave for 2 hours after the show was over
whoa,
because
wow.
he met with every person that wanted to talk to him. And I always thought that was really cool.
Hmm.
And that's what I wanted to do. After I saw him do that, I was like, I wanna do that too when I grow up. You know, they wanna talk to me, they wanted to talk to him, and he got to know a lot of people, a lot of cool people, and it's part of the gig, and it's a great part of the gig,
Well,
I
it
think.
developed a very loyal fan base too, and I thought that was very cool. Back
It's a small but mighty fan base, and
Yeah.
let me tell you something, and it's kept me alive, and it's grown, and it's kept me doing this for a living for 20 years.
Mhm.
Ever since I broke out on my own, people have been supporting me, and I'm very blessed. So to give them a little bit of my time is no sacrifice.
Cool. Well, that I think that's very classy of you. Back
Thank
to your album, what was the biggest surprise you encountered putting this together? Good or bad?
mm, that's a great question. I'm gonna have to ponder this. Um, yeah, I don't. I knew everybody was whoever was going to step up and play on this was going to do well. I'll
Mhm,
tell you what I was very surprised with was my daughter and how well my daughter. I mean, I knew my daughter was going to do well, but she was kind of a novice in the studio compared to the rest
mhm,
of the people that played on it. But when when I approached her, I said, "Look, I really want you on this record. This is a great opportunity for you to show what you got, but it's got to be a blues song. We can't." She's a big fan of contemporary R&B,
mhm,
Mary J. Blige, Beyonce,
mhm,
stuff like that. Um, and she when she sings, but her strong suit is like folk rock. She's like got a very Joni Mitchell kind of texture
mhm,
to her voice. So she's very unique, but not much of a blues singer, and I don't think she's a very big. She was a very big fan of blues when I met her. I think she's embraced it a little more now since we connected, but she's not a blues singer. But I told her, I said, "Look, I want you on this record, but it's got to be a bluesy kind of song, and it's got to be a blues song. So what are we gonna do?" And she said, "Well, let me go on Spotify or whatever, or iTunes, and let me get on my look check out my playlist and see what I can find that I like." And then, about a week later, she came back with this Bo Diddley song, and I was like, "Really? You can't judge a book by its cover? You can sing it?" "Yeah, I could do it." And then, so we went in the studio. She went and did her vocal part the same day Kevin Burt had to lay his down. Kevin and his wife Nicole stayed at my house in in Palm Bay, in Florida, and during his stay, we went to the studio, a local studio, and laid his track down. But my daughter had to come because she lives 5 minutes from me. She had to lay down her track on the same day, and she's she's a relative novice compared to Kevin Burt, and
mhm.
but she had to work late, and so she couldn't get there before Kevin. And Kevin went and laid his track down, and she had to follow Kevin Burt. And I thought, wow, she's going to be here a while because she's going to, I thought maybe, Kevin is he's an amazing singer, and he would be intimidating. You know, he's intimidating uh, by anyone's standards. He's a very intimidating singer, and if you have to follow him, he's just an
Mhm,
amazing. He reminds me of he's like a cross between Bill Withers and Aaron Neville.
mhm.
Just an amazing vocalist. And, my daughter had to go on after him and lay her vocals down after Kevin, and she sat in the booth and listened to him just wail away, and, she went in there and she laid her stuff down, didn't flinch, didn't get nervous, didn't we did maybe 3 passes at the vocals with her, but any of those takes she did would have been acceptable. She did a great job. and I thought it was gonna be more. I thought that she was gonna need a little bit more coaching in the booth, but she really didn't. She really held her own and did a great job. So she was the biggest surprise to me. I mean, I knew she was gonna do well, but I thought it was gonna be a little bit more of a process. And she was just as she went. She did just as smooth. It went just as smoothly with her as it did with Danielle Nicole or Joe Bonamassa. She was just as professional and stress free as working with the rest of them. She was one of them, and that really surprised me.
Must be in her DNA.
Oh, definitely,
Which
definitely, absolutely. That's
which
the
song would
genetics is real.
That's true, I agree. Which song would you point to as the calling card on the album?
I don't know. It's tough.
I agree.
It's tough to say. I mean, I think that the three singles that are going to come out prior to the album's release were very good. But man, I mean, there's a lot to love on this album.
I agree.
I really like the bluesier stuff, the more traditional stuff that I did with Rick Estrin
Mhm.
and Monster Mike Welch and Alabama Mike. The two Junior Wells songs were great on it. Man, I just don't know. There's a lot to like on this record,
I
and
agree.
they're very and it's gonna be tough to categorize because there is a lot of traditional blues in there, but there's also some out of the box stuff, and I don't know what the calling card would be for this album.
Hmm.
I would leave that up to the listeners.
Yeah,
That's part of the fun about making an album is that you never know what the song which song is gonna be the one that stands out
yeah.
with people. I'm always wrong. I'm always incorrect when I'm in my predictions. I always think like I wrote a song with Cyril Neville for the
Mm,
Big Dog album called Somehow, and I thought that was gonna be get a lot of airplay and get a lot of love, and it didn't. But Big Dog was, Let the Big Dog Eat was certainly the calling card on that.
yeah, yeah.
But you just never know. You never know which is gonna be the song people like.
Yep, that's true. I I I, I especially like the one, that you did with Ally,
Oh,
"Till They Take
yes,
It Away,"
yes.
or "Take This Away,"
She
something
did a
like
great job on
yeah.
that.
Well, I saw her with, Kenny Wayne Shepherd, at the same venue I saw you at, the Bijou, and it's the
Mhm.
first time I'd ever seen her in concert. Of course, I heard her music, but wow, she blew me away watching her open for Kenny, but, so what's the rest of the year look like for you? You said you're going to Switzerland. What else you have happening between now and the end of the year?
I got a handful of tours with my band. I think, one of the tours is gonna involve Europe.
Mhm,
I have a few shows with the Blood Brothers, a lot of fly dates.
mhm.
I think we got some fly dates in New York and, Wisconsin. I think we're opening up for Deep Purple in Norway at the Notodden Festival.
Whoa, how
Can't wait for
fun.
that. Yeah. So we got, a lot of Albert Castiglia dates sprinkled with Blood Brothers stuff, sprinkled in.
Mhm.
And I'm gonna have some time in between to go see my alma mater play football. I got season tickets to this University of Central Florida Knights, and I live an hour away from the stadium now, so I got some time to go to some football games in the fall. So, yeah, that's in store for me. A lot of touring in the summer,
Mhm.
a few tours in the fall and then, in winter, and, yeah, I'm just gonna be promoting the album mostly, touring to support the album. That's what you gotta do.
That's
When
it,
you put out a record, you gotta go out and support it, so
that's true.
and sell it, or else you won't make another record. They don't
Man, I
want
wanna
you.
go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, they just if you don't sell records, it don't matter if it's Mike Zito or Bruce Siglauer. If you don't sell records, they're not gonna want you anymore.
That's right. That's right. But, man, I wanna keep an eye on your, itinerary, and, like I said, I think the closest you're to me is gonna be in Nashville. I'm not sure if I can make that gig or not, but I'm gonna watch and see if you get close by, and,
Yeah, might
I
be
gotta
Atlanta, maybe.
yeah, yeah, that could work too.
Maybe even
I
Atlanta. I don't know what's going on. I'd love to get back up to Knoxville, Maryville.
yep, yep. I've got, since we last spoke, my dad has gone downhill, and I'm privileged to be able to be his caretaker, so I gotta stay close to the roost here
Yeah, of
more
course.
than I
I'm
had
sorry
been,
you're going
but,
through that.
well, hey, it's a privilege to be able to take care of him is the way I view it, so,
Right.
but, anyway, if I can break away to any of those shows, I will, and, come over and hug your neck again, but, man, it's always a thrill for me to have you on here, Albert, and,
Thanks. So much
any
fun, Randy. Thank you.
anytime you've got something going on, just know this door is welcome or open to you, and you're always welcome in. And we'll do one of these to help plug what you got going on. Okay.
I enjoy speaking with you always.
All right. Be safe and have fun in Switzerland. It's been a while since I've been there. I'd love to go again. So
Oh, you need anything? Want some cheese or a Swiss Army knife or anything?
a Hard Rock Cafe pin. That's what I need. I
Oh,
don't know if there's one
okay.
there in
If I find
Lausanne
one,
or not, but
you
all
got it.
right,
All
man.
right,
Well,
Randy.
stay safe. We'll talk soon. Take
You
care.
too, brother. Take care.
Bye bye.
Bye.